Man, oh man, is there craziness going down in China as we speak? You could probably argue that the country, the economy, kind of getting on tilt. Xi and the 6 men that will reshape the future of China. So it's the president Xi Jinping and 6 other Xi Jinpings. What this is in reference to is the once every 5 year congressional meeting that they have. It was basically used for the current president to kind of get an unheard of third term. And on top of that, really consolidate power. And man, oh man, did he do it in style. So if I play this for you here, you're going to see that the former president, Hu Jintao, I know I'm butchering that, my apologies, not that he's watching it because he's probably hidden somewhere at this moment in time, he was literally removed. And if you don't know too much about their culture, it's very common. It's a status thing. It's a power thing of how close you are to the most powerful. And he was sitting right by him, prominently placed. And at this congressional meeting, he was yeeted on out of there. Not good, super awkward. And it was a statement to the rest of the world that he is 100% consolidating his power. 100%. Obviously, Chinese state news came out and just said, no, he was sick. He needed to go. Like, he was just ill. He'll be fine. And I think we all know that that is clearly a bold-faced lie. So with all of this, the markets in no way reacted well. Xi Jinping, power control more than the markets really liked. And basically, there's going to be probably a big emphasis on state-led businesses, state-led enterprises, and these private ones most likely not going to do well under the current power regime. And that's exactly why companies such as Alibaba took a swift kick to the balls today. You could look at Alibaba, you could look at NIO, you could look at Baidu. There are so many that just hyper underperformed. US listed Chinese stocks dropped 20% after Beijing's power reshuffle makes the market uninvestable. Shares of Chinese companies listed in the US dropped sharply today after Beijing tightened President Xi Jinping's grip on power, souring investor sentiment for non-state-driven companies. So basically, all of these companies, Alibaba, NIO, Baidu, the list goes on and on and on. They're not going to have the support from the government, which is a very big thing in the world of the Chinese economy. And I don't see it improving. So unfortunately, if you're invested in those particular equities, things are not looking good in the short term and potentially in the long term. The tech index in China went down over 8%, the lowest level on record. I mean, some of these drops, we haven't heard of these percentage drops in many years. It is not a good situation. To better explain this, there's 3 major things going on right now. So we went over one. This is the consolidation of power, the massive emphasis on state really controlled enterprises. So it's making the non-state ones, especially think about some of these big tech plays, from an investor perspective, it doesn't make it enticing really whatsoever. Also, we had this scenario with the zero COVID policy. So we were talking at the start of this about how they have a once every 5-year congressional meeting. And the concept, or maybe the optimism in the market, was the fact that we would come out of this and they would say, hey, the situation's getting a lot better with COVID, so we're going to go back to how things were. Unfortunately, it did the exact opposite. In fact, a lot of the rhetoric coming out of it was more that they doubled down on their seriousness with this zero COVID policy. So consolidation of power. Then we also had a doubling down in the whole, COVID situation. And all of this adds up to understanding that the country's, a large part of their GDP is really twofold. You're going to look at real estate, which is completely on tilt. I mean, it was essentially a giant pyramid scheme that was sponsored by the state. And then when you add all this together, you also have big issues now in the world of tech. Like if you look at those processing chips, such as AMD, NVIDIA, all of those, well, now that's going into the tank. So there's 3 major issues. And I have to admit, I do find it a bit interesting that for a while there, they were delaying their GDP report, which is not in any way normal or common. And they were saying, oh, it's just because we have this big meeting, so blah, blah, blah. Well, we did get the GDP report. China said its economy grew by 3.9% in the third quarter. This was above expectations. If you take it on face value, that's good. But I also think it would be very absurdly silly for you to take this on face value. I strongly personally believe that this GDP report is a lie. I think it's fictitious. I do not think the headwinds that the Chinese economy was running into in the third quarter in any way would allow for a positive beat of expectations. I mean, consolidation of power, that's more recent. Their entire real estate property industry going on tilt, and now their tech industry taking a massive hit, and we're being told that their GDP numbers were better than expected. I'm just not buying it. Maybe you're going to buy it. I personally won't. I don't think that's a smart move. And right now, their economy, it's in a very turbulent time. And in my opinion, I think things are going to get a little bit more bearish, get a little bit more negative, because it's just serious headwinds. And I don't think that they're playing it out in a way that's best for economic growth. It seems to be maybe culturally different in the sense that they, and by they, I mean the current group of people in power, it's more of a power grab and consolidation rather than a focus on a flourishing economy. But obviously, maybe I'm getting this completely wrong. I'm in no way an expert on this subject matter, so I would love to get your thoughts.